Hey, what up, Frenchie? I'm almost ready. You are first. Welcome in. Hey, sorry for the wait. I'm almost ready. Welcome in, Paul. Okay. I think I'm ready. Oh, I was gonna open the window. It's fucking hot in here. All right, 1 second. Fuck you! I really just wanted to commit to that bit, but my headphones. Can't wait, I'm almost there. Nice. Done, see you later. Dang, that was quick. New record. Alright, let me plug this in, and then I think we're good. Hardwired, is open, hands off. Things seem set up. Oh wait, am I live? Oh, okay. I was on my channel. I was like, where's the stream? How's everybody doing? It's been a week. I'm tired. Let's go. It'd be funny if Paul actually did leave. Bye, Paul. Or come back, Paul. I read that wrong. What's the line? If you want my comeback, they'll scrape it off your mom's teeth or something. Some shit like that. This motherfucker. What up, Lemon? How you doing, man? What's up? Welcome to the game that's never gonna end. Dude, I actually forgot where the fuck I was in this. You're fighting Lemon for my attention? Cool. Okay, finished. I'm rewinding Delta Force with Chuck Norris. What are you guys up to tonight? Yeah, I think I saw you went live. Are you still live, Lemon? Lemon is fantasy video game racing in a shitty ass 1997 Honda hatchback. Oh, that game looks cool though. Tokyo Extreme Racer? What's that like PS2 looking one? That's the one I want to fucking play. He knows the one. He knows. He told me about it. Or it's like a PS 1.5. That's what it looks like. Nerd. Like Queef. Hey, what up? How you doing? You're a nerd. There's the guy with I'm good, how are you? I'm good. I'm tired as hell, but I don't know, if I want to stream, then I should do it. You know? Night Runners isn't out yet. It's is it like an early access or like there's like a beta you can play or something? Let me just skip this and see if I can figure out where the fuck I was. Press the plus button. Last thing I remember was getting chased by oh, in the ruins still. Let me turn this down. You guys don't need to hear the trailer for Taking a Pelham 13. Oh, okay. And I think I already did the stash stuff. Night Runners. Yeah, that looks cool. Bible. Ooh. Oh, is it just me? Oh shit, okay, alright. Ah, no, this sucks. I don't want to fight alone. Help. Help. What are you up to? Is that Laqueef or Lyqueef? I forget. Oh shit, I want that though. Gimme, 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 gimme. Run! Oh, I thought that was like a little door I can go into. Ah, no! There's more. I'm rich. Wait, is there more even? No. Yes. What is this? The fuck are you? Looks like evil. Wait, what the fuck? What? What do I do? What game are you playing? I'm playing Grandia. I think it's technically pronounced Grandia, but you say anime? No. Ah, nerd, bitch. I don't know where to go. Look it up for me. I don't think I'm going the right way. I think I'm going the wrong way, somebody might say. Have you played the new RE? Dude, I'm on my 3rd playthrough. I would be streaming that, but I don't know. Why the fuck am I not streaming that? I should be. Oh, because if I don't stream this, I'll never fucking finish it. That's my main reason here. And it is so fucking good. I took off. The game is scary, spooky. Yeah, it is. How far did you get? Am I supposed to be going to Underground 3? No, fuck, that's where I came from. Do you have to get, wait, do you have to get a waifu pillow before you play this game, or does it just come with one? It came with one, but not the digital one. You gotta get the deluxe physical one from, what's that company? Limited Run. You have to get the Limited Run physical collector's edition to get the body pillow. I'm still in the mansion, but I'm playing as Leon. Hell yeah. Wait, mansion. The care center? Chronic Care Center? That's a good ass game though. I was really happy with it. Like I think it's easily, like for sure top 10. Yeah, that one, yeah. For sure top 10. Honestly, I'm thinking like, it could be like top 5 REs for me. It's fucking good. Like, I had one of the best weekends of my life. And it was just playing that game. I ordered pizza, got a little high, and then I just lived. I lived Resident Evil for like 3 days.
What a cinch.
Yeah, so I beat my first playthrough Sunday night. No, Sunday like afternoon, and then I beat it like Monday again. Then I'm on the third playthrough. I'll probably stream it soon. Like I said, the main thing is I have to fucking finish this because I'm hell-bent on getting to do the sequel. Fuck off. Where the fuck do I go? It's a confusing ass dungeon. When are you gonna stream it? I don't know yet, actually. Maybe, because I know you'd rather watch that than this. You've been very vocal about your, disapproval. Been watching Cyber play it, but his RE knowledge is less. Oh, I've been watching Cyber play it too. He sucks at it. And I think he's on easy, and he's got a mouse and keyboard. In fairness, this game is better than Final Fantasy 2. Is it? Where's Jay? That's actually a good discussion I'd like to have. Oh jeez, look at him go. Oh god. Oh god. Wait, did he heal? Die! Cancel? You bitch! If I die, I'm gonna be really upset. Those early Final Fantasy games are absolutely awful to watch. To watch, I mean, I guess it depends on the person. I like classic Final Fantasy, so
Here goes!
I don't mind watching them. The music, characters,
all right, we won!
those cute little moments. I was even saying earlier, like, you know and love and appreciate video games. I don't get why you hate old ones so much. Where the you know what? You just made me do it. They're gonna make me do it. Look up a guide. Ah. I don't know where I am. Oh shit, look at that. Sometimes getting lost has its rewards. Okay, I was already in here, right? I think I was. This is a spinning blue thing. Oh my god. And there's more wall over there. How do I get over there? Is there like an illusion? I think game design really does get better as time goes on. Final Fantasy VI and on is not just better looking, but has better story and more interesting strategic gameplay. Yeah, but I mean, I think there could be an appreciation for the mechanics that got you there. Like, games becoming old don't necessarily disqualify them from being enjoyable. What the fuck? Okay, hold on. Dude, I have no idea where the fuck I am. Alright, it's underground ruins, what, basement or some shit? How's your game going, dude? Okay. Alright, dungeon ruins. I'm not in the ruins anymore. I'm in the okay. Ruins 4? Is that where I'm headed? Okay. 23, what is 23? Damn, there's a lot of items down here actually, holy shit. Alright, I'm gonna figure this out. And their map is rotated like this. Okay. I know where I am. Really good. There's like a real game now. We're trying to get the meta loop maps and star systems. Meta loop maps and star systems. Is that supposed to be a comment there? But combat finally feels like a thing. I knew there was like some real potential there too. It was feeling fun last time I played it. I mean, honestly, the first time I played it too. But of course, you know, you're polishing it up. But I'm really proud of you and happy for where it's at right now, and I can't wait to watch it grow. When it's at a point when you're ready, I'm gonna tell all my friends about it. I'm gonna be like, play it or you're dead to me. Okay. I didn't want to have to do this, but fuck, dude. Like, where the fuck do I go? What's L? What is that? What is that? What is that? Unless you meant Jay Conquer Saves America, I mean, it's time to work on that. I'm absolutely interested in that too, but not as interested as your labor of love, which is don't tell me. It's like Arclight Breach. Yeah, I kept wanting to say Breach Light. Okay, this way and down. Yeah, I'm glad I looked this up. This map is confusing and stupid, like me. Where to go? Ah! yeah. And then anytime we come and we talk about it, you're more than welcome to share a link.
Here goes.
You know what it reminds me of? It gave me it's not the same kind of game, but something about like the aesthetic and the music and the gameplay to an extent. It reminds me of when I got this one Game Boy Advance game just cuz called Rebel Star? Fuck. Yeah, Rebel Star Tactical Command. It's not the same because this is made from the guy that did XCOM, I'm pretty sure. But it just reminds me of it in a weird way. Okay, I think I was supposed to go down. Don't touch me! Don't touch me! No! I said don't touch me. Calm down, Joey. It's just soda. I barely like just drink like Coca-Cola. But when I ordered pizza, I got one because I was like, you know what? Resident Evil only comes out so often. Treat yourself. And I've leftover soda. That's interesting. XCOM is actually one of our biggest influences. Oh, really? Then yeah, dude, look up Rebel Star, one word, for Game Boy Advance. Dude, XCOM's so good. Dude, should I stream XCOM one of these days? That'd be kind of fun. I had such a blast with the first one. I never finished the second one. Okay, these connect, but I think there might be an item over here. I love those games. I never played 2, and I wanted to play, shit! I just got ambushed. Yeah. Oh, I didn't, cool. What was that? Crimson Squad? Does that sound right? Do you like Final Fantasy Tactics? I love Final Fantasy Tactics. In fact, I have it physically on Game Boy. Well, I do have Tactics Advanced, Tactic Advanced A2, Tactics for PlayStation 1, and War of the Lions, like all physical. Let me see it. I think it's right here. Would you rather watch me play Final Fantasy Tactics? Jay and I disagree on that one. I think it's a top 3 Final Fantasy game. I think that is a strong, it's a strong contender for top 5, I'd say. I have no issue with somebody saying it's top 3. Final Fantasy Tactics is wonderful. That game is great. Yeah, no, I respect that. What's your top 5 in order if you can? Definitely my top 3. Hey, Rin, what's up, man? Yeah, dude, I respect that. It being a top 3 is, I'd say that's as Jay would say it, a base choice. Except he disagrees with you, so he wouldn't say that, but you know what I'm saying. Fucking stop it. Yeah, what are your top 5? It might be in my top 5. 7, 12, Tactics, 8, and 9. Dude, that's a pretty solid list right there. Yeah. Formatting, but that's the order. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I had to calculate when I got to 8. I was like, what is that? That's 8. I have a small text, small chat. No, dude, that's a pretty solid top 5. Honestly, Final Fantasy is so consistently good that, like, you can pick any, like, almost a random top 5, and I'd probably appreciate it. But Jay's Jay, so he's probably be like 7, 1, 3, 10, and his favorite's 9. I imagine he'd say something like that. Nothing much, chatter. Just playing Dragon's Dogma online with some friends. Dragon's Dogma is online. Wait. I never played Dragon's Dogma. I think I have the re-release somewhere. Dragon's Dogma Online. Is that an MMO? No way Jay puts 7 first. No, I was doing descending order, like from 5th to 1st place. Telling us 7 is overrated would be the most Jay thing ever. He actually did say that on stream after, yeah, Japan only one. Oh, okay. Do you read Japan or do you read Japan? Do you read Japanese or is it modded? But somebody, I think it might have been Ray. I don't know, one of his dumb chat people said that 7 was overrated, and I was like, over fucking rated? Like, no. But I mean, that's the thing nowadays. It's cool to hate on things that are loved. EOS years ago. What's EOS mean? English on, I don't know. Years ago, some people have private server up. What's EOS mean? End of service. Oh, it died. Oh, okay. Well, that sucks, but it's cool that people resurrected it. I mean, that's how I was able to play Resident Evil Outbreak with my boys. Thanks again for hopping on that with us, Paul. You were a wonderful addition to the group. I know I laughed when I said that. I didn't want to disparage others, but you were definitely appreciated. Molin, it's you. Yeah, I'm really glad I looked up that map. I had no idea where the fuck I was going. Oh, and then I'm doing a 12-hour stream tomorrow. I kind of didn't realize it until like Tuesday that's my 2-year stream anniversary. And then my affiliate anniversary is in May. And then that's when the thing I want to do will be ready. I'm planning something cool. At least I think it's cool. A lot of work, but it's just not ready. It's not perfect yet. No, honestly, if I'd been smart and remembered last week, tomorrow would be sick. Justin, so you survived. What have you done with Fina? Answer me, Molin. Where is he? Just fucking hits him. Meditite appears. Catch it using Poke Catch. No, thank you. Okay, he twisted my arm. Fucking Grammarly. I'm gonna uninstall you. Work told me to install Grammarly, and I was like, I'm gonna use it. Fuck off, Grammarly. You're dead. You're dead! Final Fantasy is kind of neat where someone's top 5 can be completely different from someone else's. Yeah, dude, that's something I love about it. That's what I was trying to get to earlier. I feel like you can almost pick like a random 5, and that would be probably a solid top 5. For me, what? He subbed. Nice. Have someone here to train tonight, so I can't hang out. This sucks. Aww. No, just throw him to the wolves. Fuck him. Be like, hey, just learn, newbie. Watch and learn. And then just sit, watch my stream. This is what you do, kid. Slick. Sport, you know? Basically, you go through everything that Tommy Lee Jones called Will Smith in the first Men in Black movie. Jay is training Pog. Oh, Jay, I support Tactics being in Paul's top 3. It's good. It's a great game. You just don't understand, man. You just don't understand. It just consistently experiments so that games aren't really like each other, especially later ones. Yeah. Yeah, Final Fantasy like constantly reinvents itself in a great way. It's very impressive that way. Let's see. For sure, my number 1 is always gonna be 10, I think. 10, 15, 7, 8. I really like 4, dude. I really like 4. I really like 4. That's at least how I feel right now. If you want to open it up to the top 10, you know, I got 12 up there because I fucking love 12. 12 is a beautiful game. 6, Tactics. I haven't finished 9 yet, so I can't say it, but I've been enjoying. So I don't know if you guys, I mean, I've talked about it before. I have like next to me like a nice little like retro station with like a bunch of consoles hooked up to it on the CRT. I have my little love sack here, I have my lava lamp, and I was just playing Final Fantasy on it, and I got kind of hooked. So I'm playing Final Fantasy 9 right now off stream. 9, 5, dude, 5 is good. 5 is underappreciated. 5 is basically the Tactics job system. Tactics, 6, 7 for me. 6, 7, I couldn't help it. No 10? Just kidding. Yeah, no, that's a solid list too. 5 is easily my most replayed one. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, just with the job system itself, it's very replayable. I didn't give myself time to really finish it and play it until lockdown. So that was when I beat it, and then I jumped right into 6, and it took me like 5 weeks to play both of those back to back. 5 is great. 5 is fun. Oh yeah, Justin, listen to me. Take the Spirit Stone and escape now. Huh? What do you mean? Just tell me where Fina is. I can't explain it now. Just get out of here. Go, escape, skedaddle. Shoot! Hey, I hear voices. Oh no, in here. Nothing? It's basically Epstein Island. I think the thing with 5 is kind of what Jay had a very similar sentiment to this one that I'm experiencing. Grandia 1 is a wonderful game. It's just, it kind of starts off pretty juvenile, and then it gets, you know, a little bit more interesting once like the world's fate becomes involved. 5, it's very humorous until like halfway through, and then it gets real, you know? It's like when in Bad Boys 2, when they kidnap Martin Lawrence's sister, and they do like the fucking, they stand up, and then the camera pans around like fucking Michael Bay does in every movie, and they say shit just got real. That happens like halfway through Final Fantasy V, and I love it. Yeah, I'm fine. Never mind me. How is the rescue operation going? Sir! Yeah, Final Fantasy V honestly has a lot of heart to it. It does, it does. Yeah, it do. And then I played that one on my Game Boy Advance, because I actually, I have 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 on my Game Boy Advance. But then with 6, I elected to actually do a slightly modded version of the SNES version. It's basically, not 3, but like 6, you know? So it has the difficulty ramped back up, and it has a decensored script. So he calls what's her face a bitch at some point. I liked it, but yeah, honestly, 5 is kind of sweet. 5 has some really good moments. All the dragon shit. I don't understand. Why did General Ball bring us to this disaster? That's enough. I'll take this matter up with the General myself. Where is General Ball? He has returned to the Grandia. Grandia? That's a cool name for a ship, dude. The Grandia. Sir, I don't know why every time I read sir like military talk, that's how they talk. He has returned to the Grandia, sir, with the Icarian girl. I believe she's called Fina. What? Did you say Fina? Delay recovery of the Spirit Stone. Get to the Grandia before it leaves. Yes, Colonel! What? They have Fina? We must save her. Oh, shit. Didn't expect all that. I didn't know Dragon's Dogma had a fucking mod. This motherfucker. What up, Cash Cow? How you doing, man? Happy Friday. Are you excited to see 9 Inch Nails tomorrow? Sneak me in. I want to touch myself while I listen to Closer. Wait, what is that? What are you up to, man? Isn't it past your bedtime? I was telling Daniel about it. We definitely do have to do Stargate night. I may not have succeeded in getting that Spirit Stone, but I can console myself. Sorry, why is it spelled the same? With the other card. Ha! Mullen, you should be happy. Our plan is one step closer, and I'm about to break to completion. General Ball, we have lost half our soldiers underneath that mountain of rubble. What will you do about it? Half our soldiers? Ha! I shall fly the Grandia to J base, the castle where Gaia sleeps. We have been fortunate enough to obtain this girl. Let us hurry and make a present of her to Gaia. You will take the battleship Lionlot? I want to say Lionlot. Join me once you have withdrawn the troops. Understand, Mullen? Yes, General. What are you doing with that girl, weirdo? Did the signature move. Hops in and talks shit and then leaves. Bang. Bina! Blast. Where's that blasted salami? That's a reference. How can I get to her? Justin, Rap, Guido. You can't say that, can you? Is Guido offensive? Is Guido a slur? Yes, Guido is considered a derogatory term and an ethnic slur in North America, primarily targeting working class urban Italian Americans. It used to stereotype individuals as aggressive. Yeah, I know. It's weird that they call him a slur. Rap, nigga, we gotta go. Have you seen a flying manta before? I stashed it just in case. Where the fuck did you stash a living flying mantis? Justin, hello. Hey, my favorite N-word. Hey, what up, DJ? How you doing, man? 3 N-words, I just said it. We gotta go rescue Fina, all right? Right, we're coming, Fina. Oh, don't get too excited. It's Melanin March. Is that because it's like after Black History Month? Black History Month and then Melanin March? And then Afro April? Just 1 month, Jack? Shit's black all year long! How intriguing. Solene has a younger sister. Oh, a younger twin sister. How do you know she was born first of all? Because isn't younger twin? That's almost. That's like almost contradiction there. I just took a gummy. I'll be right back. LOL. Oh, can I have one? Can I have some? Can I have some? Here, just throw it through the camera. Thanks, bud. Yeah, it makes sense. Come to think of it, the ancients made Ikarian statues of four-armed women. They meant to represent twin sisters, and you are indeed another Ikarian. No, I'm just a person. Let me go. What are you afraid of, girl? Batch. You will be part of Operation Yggdrasil, the greatest step in human evolution. I'll never help you. Justin will come and take care of you. Justin, is that the name of the boy who has the last piece of the Spirit Stone? Coming to save you is he? He shall be dealt with soon, and I will obtain the Spirit Stone. I know it's random, but I looked over at Vaughn's stream. Sorry, Lemon. And I want to play that game. So, fuck. Hold on just a second, sorry. Give me a gummy. This one will beat the fuck out of you. He's much, much stronger than you are. Hey, my. How energetic you are, dear. My dear, Jesus. Who wrote this? Anyway, but we will take care of that. In time, you will obey as Lean obeys me now. Stay away from me. What are you doing? Oh my gosh, he's on the casting couch, dude. What's that noise? Huh? Justin? I've seen this one before. Ah, a man of culture. Aw, dude, I love animated textures on PS1 games. Rap. G-word. Hold on, I'm picking her up. Paul, have you seen the new Naked Gun movie? It's honestly, to me, a 10 out of 10 comedy. Dude, I've not laughed that fucking hard at a movie in such a long time. The last time a movie had me laughing like that was probably like some parts of Deadpool 3, but dude, the new Naked Gun is like a joke a fucking minute, like, or a second. Like, it's constant, and they're all fucking landing and hitting, you know? This gaming of era looks so bad. I legit think SNES and Genesis looks. God damn it, Paul! Stop it! PS1 is beautiful. Don't over the camera's ears. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him, Grandia. You're beautiful. G-Bird, are you all right? Well, I felt better. Justin, tell me why it is. I hate this stupid fucking Jar Jar talk. Why I'm always falling down when you're here. Hey, Rap, quit napping, okay? He's dead. Some people might be worried about their friend at a time like this. Pile of junk. We gotta just trash this whole ship. Yeah! Not yet, Rap. First you have to find Fina, then you can trash it all you want. Okay. Only a little trash until we find Fina. Got it. Yeah, just trash it on the way, man. Anyway, Ragazi? The fuck? Anyway, Ragazi, we can do nothing if we get inside. Talk normal! Listen, best comedy movie of the decade is Hundreds of Beavers and I Will Die on the Hill. I haven't seen that one yet. What's that on? Hundreds Beavers. But dude, for real, you have to check out the new Naked Gun movie. Okay, look look for Fina and watch your backs too. What's your back? You threatening me? Alright, what do we got? We got any... I think I bought it on Prime. I watched it 3 times because I kept telling people you have to watch this movie. Well, have a movie night at your place, invite me over, and then we'll watch it, yeah? How's that sound? Wait. Do I want to go in here? Oh, I guess I have no choice. Discord movie night? I have to bring those back, man. I kind of miss those. It's been too long. I did the same thing with RRR with a fucking masterpiece. I haven't seen RRR yet. And a friend told me to, and I just didn't yet. It's like a 3-hour movie. Who has 3 hours for a movie? Meanwhile, I just binged like 30 hours of Resident Evil fucking 9. He throws a tiger at the bad guy. Alright, that does sound pretty good, not gonna lie. Max MP, I'm saving that for Fina. Naka. Oh, fuck, I have a mana egg, dude. Wait, I have a mana egg? Fucking Guido. Meant that in a good way. That's his name. The movie is so over the top in a good way. 3 hours feels short. You know, it's on my list. I just haven't watched it yet. Is it still on Netflix or did they take it down? I think I heard that was the thing that was happening. Also, I think I heard that like they're trying to snuff the soundtrack. Right? Did they rescore the movie or something like that? I remember hearing like it'll be hard to find like the theatrical version. No idea. Yeah, I remember hearing something like that. But it's on my list for sure. Nice. I think I asked you this before, Paul. What are some games that you would want to see me stream?
All right, we won.
Alright, let's see if I can get back up there. Tight. I don't know, I'm into indies, so before I was all about Crow Country and Signalis. Oh fuck, I still have to play Signalis. Signalis or Signalis? Where's the inflection there? Signalis? It's probably Signalis. SP? Oh fuck yeah, give that to Justin. I loved Crow Country. Crow Country was great. Gonna get my list. A list of games. Do it. Oh shit, I thought that would kill him. Well, brace for impact! Fuck. Counter.
We won! We won!
I think I got the wrong Delta Force. This movie's boring. Oh, they both suck. I remember watching one with like my grandma back in the day, and I was like, that was fun. Oh shit. Alright, hold on. Die! Die! How'd I do that?
There's no use in hiding. Ugh!
Damn, motherfucker, die!
Piece of cake.
Shut up. Wait a minute. Okay. We're doing it for the magic bubble. And I'll just get my my MP back in a moment. Cover and then save anyway, because you know why? Fuck it! So, I saw it, dude. What up, Dry? How you doing, man? I'm alright, baby. That's good enough. Happy Friday. You guys got any plans this weekend? I didn't kill him. No plans. I have mild stuff. I actually have a 12-hour stream tomorrow, and then Sunday. I think I'm free Sunday. Like, you ever have the feeling you're forgetting something? I have that right now, but as of right now, those are my plans. Try to finish this shit tomorrow. 12 hour. Yeah, it's my stream anniversary. My second one. You're forgetting to send all those dick pics. Oh, fuck! You're right. That's totally it. Thanks for reminding me, man. Now I'll get those out prompto.
There's no use in hiding. Ugh!
That's my Joey-esque list of Twitch ideas. Dreadout? Oh, is that the remake or the original? Well, it was like a remaster, right? Dreadout. It's like Fatal Frame, right? Song of Horror. I think I own that. Tormented Souls. I own that. And the Dream Machine. What to do with the beard? Oh, the claymation one. Okay. Yeah, dude. Yeah, those are absolutely on the list. For sure, Tormented Souls and Song of Horror. Those are the ones that I've been wanting to actually stream. Dreadout, I have... Is it called Dreadout 2? Or isn't there like a spin-off and then 2? But I have 2 Dreadouts. Let me open up Steam and check real quick. Oh, Dry. Joey. Let me see. I have... Dreadout and Dreadout Keepers of the Dark. That's what I have. Keepers of the Dark. Is this a spin-off? What is this? Standalone horror game that takes place in the Dread universe. Is this missing chapter will help Linda face the challenges of the Dread Out world with even more dangers lurking within. Okay, I don't have Dread Out 2. Dream Machine is great. I played that one through twice, but it's point and click adventure. I like point and click adventure. I played a lot of Telltale games that weren't just Walking Dead. Like I played the Hector, Detective Hector, Agent Hector. What was that one called? I like that one. And I played Sam and Max back in the day, and I've been trying to get Jay to play the Star Trek LucasArts games. Those are great. Because he also likes the, I think he likes the original series more than Next Generation. I go back and forth, even though I do think I lean original series as well. But they're great games. Yeah, no, dude, that's a good list. Actually, let me wish list Dream Machine real quick. Oh shit, it's episodic. Can I just get the whole thing? 1, 2, and... Okay. Oh, this is dirt cheap. Whoa! What's up, dude? How you doing, man? How you doing? Also, Baba Is You. It would amuse me for you to play that. What is Baba Is You? Is that the one with like the weird kiwi looking thing? The kiwi bird? I know it looks like somebody's doing that Zoolander face. Baba Is You. Yeah, it's a really difficult puzzle game. But damn it, I'm dumb. You know this. Let me add to my wish list. No, these are good suggestions though, especially the Song of Horror, which I think I own, and I have Tormented Soul. Doing good, bro. Just sipping whiskey and working on my game dev. True nerd shit. Oh, hell yeah, dude. Bo and Paul about to fuck. Yeah, I don't think you would like Baba. It's really hard and you would get tilted as fuck. You think so? Like tilted like I got at fucking the thing? Fuck that game. Like it pushed me off. And that's dope, Bo. You're doing the whole thing, aren't you? You're doing graphics, animation, coding.
We won!
But thanks for good streaming content. This is true. This is true. It'll also be good streaming content when I beat my camera into my forehead. Yeah! Yeah, and music production. You're a one-man band. Keep rocking, dude. Uh-oh. Get him. Got him. What kind of game? I should beat it into your dick instead. That'll hurt.
We won!
Have you considered streaming your game dev stuff? I think some people do that sometimes. I thought there was an item here. I got a real project idea I need to finish, but I really want to get back to my all AI game. That's funny. It's also funny because Jay hates AI, doesn't he? Me? It's kind of a horror game, works in hybrid. Oh, dude, that sounds sick. Well, if it's anything like the quality of your streams, it's gonna rock. On Unity? Yeah, what are you using? Unity, Unreal Engine? Okay. Oh shit. Oh shit, actually?
There's no use in hiding.
Blueprints or C++? fuck? He called it.
Not bad, eh?
Blueprints, coding is beyond my mental capabilities. LOL, that's literally the only part that makes sense to me, is coding. I've taken coding classes. I understand the logic and like the syntax, but just something about like just like the language itself, you know? Like I can look at it and be like, okay, I think it's doing this and be kind of in the ballpark, but actually like coding? Nah. Yeah, coding. I had like 20 years of experience coding before doing anything game related. I wish I had that. My stuff has always been more visual. Like I started off doing just like general art, like concept and some basic 3D models. But once I got into animation, and then once I got into motion graphics, that's when I was like, all right, this is what I was made for. Fuck, I forgot to heal.
Here goes!
Game coding is really fucking hard. Yeah, using like object-based coding or is
I've been a hit.
fuck. Is Blueprints
We just got out of that one.
is it like node-based? I can handle Blueprints because it reminds me of writing music synths and audio programs. It's node-based, right? Because I know a lot of engines are having that at least as an option. Even Unity, I'm pretty sure, has at least plugins for node-based coding. That's at least how I was able to get my character controllers somewhat functional. And then I go to the technical director and I'm like, please, Big Bud will fix it. It's the memory management for work stuff. When things are inefficient, I tell the corporate overlords, give me another 1 terabyte of RAM. Terabyte of RAM, Jesus Christ. Yep, node-based visual scripting, plugging things into each other. For game stuff, you have to make it work on the Potato Gamers. Work so the Potato Gamers can afford, yeah. Yeah, it's the same logic why PS5 games still have to be like somewhat in the realm of PS4, you know? What do they call it? Game parity or system parity or some shit. Which is stupid. Leave the PS4 behind. Just do it. Oh wait, I hate Guido. What do you have? What's Mage Hypo? Yeah, just attack. Guido, I can't wait for you to leave my fucking party.
There's no use in hiding. At
Facebook, just my team would have racks of like 100 servers with 4 terabytes of RAM in each. Jesus. I mean, I guess when things are at that scale, you're like, yeah, we need it. Did you work on Facebook games or just like the platform itself? Scale these nuts? What up, your boy? How you doing tonight? Are you working? What are your days off? Or is that random? Bitch! No, I worked on a telemetry system, the fire hose of all data collected by Facebook and Instagram apps, dropping in while my water temp cools down. Water temp? You talking about your water cooling?
Yeah, not bad, eh?
Like, is your PC overheating? Is that what you're saying? Also, I'm watching your stream. Biatch. There you go. Cars can have water temp. You can overheat in game. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that's what you're talking about. How you doing, Lemon? We'll be hanging out again. But the cool team at Facebook was the nipple detection team. Telling the difference between male and female nipples is hard to do. I bet you I could do it. Put me do a blind test. I don't know. When do you want to hang out? Check my calendar. Because for you, it's got to be a Friday or a Saturday so I can recover, you know? My butthole can only take so much, man. Next weekend... I'm free the second half of Saturday. I would probably hang out like the 21st. If you're down. Average J, that's a nipple, women nipple? Banned. My initiative, bitch.
Here goes!
How much SP are you gonna give me? First of all.
This might hurt a little. A 1, a 2.
Oh Jesus, she stabbed me. Oh shit. Okay.
Back with
Okay.
reinforcements.
Guido just elevated to being pretty alright. Why is nobody facing me or doing anything? This feels weird. If I get in your line of sight, are you gonna chase me? Lemon, are you there still? Have you seen the new Naked Gun, dude? It's really fresh. I just saw it, and I love it. I was saying earlier, dude. I think it's definitely the funniest movie I've seen in years. I haven't, but I want. Okay, dude, let's watch it when you get here. Let's watch it. Yeah, let's get drunk and watch Naked Gun. It'll be great. Dude, I'm not even kidding. It's the same constant fucking humor as Loaded Weapon, basically. I'm in. Dude, Paul, come over too. That'd be fun, actually. You're in California, right? You're not that far, right? Or are you still in Seattle? I forgot. Did you ever move? Or are you in Seattle? Seattle.
Back with
Damn
reinforcements.
it. Fine. I'm gonna hang out with you anyway. I'm just kidding. No, I actually like having friends over. Movie nights, game nights. I finally got proper redeems on my stream. Oh, nice. No, we're buying a house out here, so stuck for the long haul. How much is that gonna cost you? I'm just curious. Already twisted my arm. Oh, nice. Yeah, you 1.2 mil? Jesus Christ. Yeah, you definitely needed some redeems. Oh, nice. See the entire party. That's actually good to know. Let's do. Oh, he's out. Okay. All right, just attack.
There's no use in hiding.
I'm trying to plan another meetup this year, so go hang with us in Tahoe. And when?
What a cinch.
Can I bring my PlayStation? All right, car should be good now. Bye till it overheats again. All right, man. See ya. Nothing booked yet. Probably like September. Cool, cool. Oh shit! He's gonna like bring the alarm or something. Oh no, we got him. Well, keep me posted. I could probably make September work. How many days? Yeah, nothing booked yet. Are you deaf?
Here goes! Piece of cake.
Yeah, sure. We did just what's TC weekend last time? I'll probably get a full week and do 5 days with the fam, and then other people can come by for the weekend. I can do a weekend for sure. Alright, definitely gonna take you out, but I have to go back. Oh, it's this way. This one. Oh wait, no. Damn it, wrong guy. Back. Oh, why didn't I just attack somebody who was almost dead? Next to you. Die! Die!
All right, we won!
Tight! Fucking sick! All right! Hell yeah! War mail. War is hell.
This might hurt a little. A 1, a 2.
Oh, it's Justin? Alright, just... Oh, he's the last one. Die, motherfucker!
All right, we won.
Yeah. Do it.
Here goes. Piece of cake.
What's over here? Engine room? Oh shit. Is this where I have to go? No, this is where I'm going. Hey, what is all this stuff? And you guys, any of this look familiar to you guys? Probably some kind of engine, but it doesn't look like steam powered. Impressive. This is made with ancient Angeluvian technology. Fuck, oh. I didn't realize that was like a wall. Oh shit. It's gonna hurt me. Oh, these bitches. God damn it. Teehee, just what did you think you could do here, Justin? Well, darling, according to my calculations are correct. He's here to help that poor little Akarian girl. Oh boy, is he ever the clueless. Thanks for bringing us the Spirit Stone. We forgot it at the Tower of Doom. You gotta wait that time, but if you'll hand it over, you'll know what's good for— oh, but you'll hand it over if you know what's good for you. Gotta wait? Yeah, right. I remember escaping after kicking your butts. Pipe down, bitch! We'll settle accounts soon enough. You gotta let me save first. Oh, that sounds like a horror movie now. Fuck him up!
Here goes.
Oh shit. You got no magic. Alright. Ooh. Oh damn, she's tough. Tough cookie.
Good. Take this.
There's no use in hiding. Ugh!
The most damage. I mean, I'm spreading it out, which is fine.
There's no use in hiding. Ugh!
Kill them all! Okay, they're like— she's like a third dead, almost. Okay, it's not as bad as like the meter makes you think. Nice. His dagger leveled up.
Watch this.
Oh shit. Wait, do you have magic? I keep checking. Oh, we do. You do, but it's not great. We could try it out. Oh shit.
100 million degrees. Take that.
Oh, that wasn't a lot, but I canceled. Holy shit. Ooh. Ooh.
Prepare to die! Take that! And that! And that!
Please don't paralyze me. I believe don't paralyze me. Oh, okay.
Here we go! The
Grandia
Trinity
attack.
attack! Haha!
What you
Let
doing,
me
bitch?
show you my
What you doing,
splendid
bitch?
moves. According to my calculations,
Oh, fuck
this
is
one
going on?
will get him. Here goes! Yes!
Oh my god, I'm scared.
Yeah!
What the fuck in the Sailor Moon is this? Ooh, yeah, that was pretty rough. Alright, tell you what. You get the hypno. And then you heal.
This might hurt a little. A 1, a 2.
Got some. Damn, girl. Please don't do that again. That might kill me. Go, go, go! Okay.
There we go.
Here we go! The Trinity attack! Haha! Let me show you my splendid moves. According to my calculations, this one will get him. Here goes! Yes! Yeah! How's this?
You bitch!
Good, right?
Stop it. Oh my god, the sound design in this game. Yeah, you hate everything about this game, don't you? Oh no.
Here goes!
Two's better, if that helps. If that means anything to you. Guido, help! I think if I focus fire on one of them, they can't do that shit again. Oh shit. Uh-oh. Don't you dare. Don't you do it, bitch. Don't you.
Great
Oh.
deal, Phil.
Oh. Oh, if it's just Guido, that's fine. Yeah, he's fine. Let me trip, dog. Stun gun, standby. Max Lariat? Max Lariat? I don't know. What's the... Oh, it's Max. Okay, so it's instant. Interrupt the bitch. Get her.
You're not gonna get away from this. Ha!
Take that, Yahweh.
Haha! How
Uh-oh.
about 1,000,000 volts?
How about not? Fucking stop it. Oh! Okay, this'll do. What's everybody's health at? Okay, we can take one more round of abuse. This didn't do much, but I'm desperate.
Ooh, I'll kill ya!
Don't.
$100 million degrees. Take that.
Got them all? Okay, good. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Again. Are you almost dead yet, you fucking bitches? Almost. They're getting there.
Here goes!
I definitely need the rescue set. I'm really glad I picked up like 8 of these on the way here. Let's use the... Oh, shit. Alright. That couldn't hurt. I really don't like the magic system in this game. It requires too much grinding.
Use your guts.
He's better.
Guts.
Alright, brace for impact! What's Fiora? What are you doing?
Ooh, I'll kill ya! This
Hold.
freeze will get him.
Crap, no. Oh, he's fine. Watch. Oh shit. We should get it more. So you're doing standby, standby, standby. Okay, they're all standby, but because I'm scared, Mio's almost dead. Focus fire!
Slice car.
Yeah, just get Mio. She's almost dead anyway. Oh shit. Okay. They're doing shit. Wow, shush, and I'll heal. Okay, yeah, take Mio out. Take the shot. Uh-oh.
Nearly
Alright, we're fucked. Maybe not. I just think taking out the healer is a good one, and then they can't do that try shit again. Fact. You know what to do, Rico!
You're not gonna get away from this. Ha!
I must have miscalculated.
Prepare to die.
He's like, just ignores it.
You're nearly dead.
Wow. Hey, what does WoW do? Alright, just to hit her with their fucking axe.
Super lightning attack
Don't.
spell.
Archon? Do we like archons?
V-slash.
Nice. Nice. I still have that. Cool. Honestly, I probably should just attacked, but it's fine. I wanted to heal a bit. I think we'll be in a better spot once second these motherfuckers is dead. Oh, what are you doing over there? Home run. Stop it. What's a home run? What are you doing? What are you doing? My cat. What are you doing? Shit.
I show no mercy.
Shit. Oh, damn, look at that. Oh, that's not. That ain't shit.
Ooh, I'll kill ya!
You bitch! Don't dodge. Don't you ever dodge.
I'll kill you with blast power.
Boom.
Watch this.
Prepare to die.
Is Guido just immune to magic or something? Oh shit.
Hey, no! It
Haha.
can't be!
Can be. Alright, have any more? Y'all got any more than potions? No. Well, he doesn't at least.
Watch this.
I think Justin might have one. Like one more, and I think we'll be good. Yeah, boy. Y'all get any more of the potions? Hey, I have my Tyrone painting right next to me.
Ooh, I'll kill ya!
I think we'll be okay. So what are you working on tonight? No details, but just like what area? Audio? Coding? What's on the menu tonight?
You're
Speedy.
nearly dead.
I'm dying! I'm dying! I'm dead! Not yet. Don't I have something that lets me gain SP when I attack? NPC dialogue system, I'm making everyone an asshole? Hell yeah. Is it all text? Or do you have voice acting? Text retro style.
Big win
Is
for
this a
us.
3D game or is this like a 2D? Or are you still going for like that PS1 like early horror aesthetic? Like those Japanese horror games you've been playing? A piece of cake, but pretty tough for girls. Yeah, they're tough for a few bitches. I'll be right back. I actually have to go pee real quick. Be right back. It's 3D PS1? Fuck yes! Bo! Hell yeah, dude. All right, I'm back, my BBs. Oh god damn it, this wasn't around either. Sorry, Delta Force is over. I'm putting on Friday. Oh. Alright, where's Fina? Take us to wherever that old bitch ball is. Ha 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 ha. So you think you've beaten us? That's funny. Right, Saki? Right. Oh, yeah, right. We just let you win, didn't we, Mio? We did? Oh, yeah. It was all part of our plan. It was all planned from the start to give us some time, and you boys fell for it. According to my calculation, stop saying that. The Grandia is now about to arrive at its destination, J-Base. Yeah? And then we'll get all our soldiers together and beat you all up. We'll even... Look, even with you, Justin, and you too, Monkey Boy and Rabbit Man. That's racist! Look at them go. Now what? We have to stop the ship. Somehow there'll be a big trouble if we reach the base like those all boss said. Let's see. Bogus. Bogus! Oh fuck, I should put Bill and Ted on. I don't know what to do. Just start hitting buttons. Why didn't you say so? Here, let me just push something. Setting acknowledged, final order will be executed. Whoops. Oh well. What'd you do? Oh shit. You just crash into J-Base. Likely Rapino, you break the ship. Final order. Kapiski? Capiche? Is that how you spell capiche? Yeah, right. Well, that's okay. I was gonna trash it anyways. Whatever. Look, we gotta get moving and find Fina, okay? Now we have even less time. You know, I used to be a used... You know, I used to be... Oh... You know, I used to be a CA in San Antonio from Tropic Thunder. Is that what you're doing? Or are you actually telling me you used to be a saucier? Welcome back, you boy. How's work, dude? Tropic Thunder? Yeah. Cool. You know, it used to be a saucier. Dude, Robert Downey crushed it in that role. It's going alright. I'm just trapped in a box. Aren't we all? Wait, what do I do in this little fucking casting couch room? Am I supposed to be in here? What? Oh. Oh shit. It's on fire! You know, something tells me this ship made... Oh. Damn, I can't read that fast. Barely read. Crap! Forget us, Justin! Rescue Fina! Shut up! Rescue Fina! Bye, guys. Ooh, nice. CG cutscene. What was your favorite line from Tropic Thunder? Actually, it's actually kind of hard to think of a movie lines without this music blaring in my ears. Oh, honestly, I like that one part when Kurt, he's trying to get the map from Ben Stiller, and he's like, "Yeah, man, you know when what was his name of his Scorcher 2? He got buff. You know, like when like Rocky got buffed in Rocky 2, or not Rocky, it was Rambo 2. Yeah, that was you, man. You got any tips? You got any tips? Give me the fucking map. I like that part. That one, and then I have a son now. My friend wants TiVo. My friend gets TiVo. A lot of good lines. Yeah, this is something about like that scene where he's trying to flatter him and then just yank the map away. You got any tips?
Let Fina go!
Oh, thank God, voice acting.
Well, well, so the man who holds the Spirit Stone is just a boy.
Justin, stay away!
So, the legend that the Spirit Stone's light and the Akarian wings call to each other is not exactly a lie. I'll give the girl back to you, my little Justin. However, only in exchange for the Spirit Stone.
He's lying, Justin. Don't believe him.
Do it,
If
Justin.
you give him the Spirit Stone, he'll just kill you. Please, run away.
You can't kill me, I'm the main character.
My ship is about to sink. It's your choice. Which is really important to you.
Okay. I'll trade. Release Fina. Quickly!
You are a wise young man. The great mysteries of Angelo are beyond your powers. Come, give me the Spirit Stone.
I tried to fucking tell you, Justin!
Finally, I have the absolute power of Angelo in my very own hands. Die, you worms.
Fuck you, Fungus. I wanted it.
Together with this burning ship.
Why, I'll get you somehow. Unless you didn't fall to your death. I see this as an absolute win, dude. Now, this way, I guess. Have much of a choice. Ooh. Hit points always welcome. Bogus! Why is he saying, like, catchphrases now? This is like the third time he said bogus in the last half hour, and he's never said it in the game at all. Is it a dead end? Wait, it looks like there might be a place I can climb up. I like Robert Downey Jr. was hugging Brent T. Jackson. Yeah, he was like, for 400 years, that warrior's kept us down. He was like crying. Yeah. Great movie. Justin! Pina! Canada! Tesso! Naruto! Sasuke! You're a tough little one, aren't you? But why risk your life for a mere girl? Your filthy hands off of Fina! This Akarian is mine, boy. You have no power, no need for powers. You know, Akarian, you're nuts. Fina is Fina! What the fuck is Fina is Fina? I like how in all caps yelled it. I thought it was to say something stupid like Fina is Frina. This game is that corny to where they can say something like that, and I wouldn't be surprised. The last fucking time. Let go of Fina. Now! Aha ha ha. The little worm has a roar unbecoming of his size. Have it your way then. You should be proud to die at my hand then. Bring it on, bitch. Oh shit.
Slicing car.
Ooh. Did that a few times. Oh shit.
Witness my lightning power.
Oh, it's not even maxed. Damn, I thought it was. Dude, I've been fucking neglecting some shit.
Ha! Slicing 2.
Oh, come on. Ooh, damn, dude, he's doing some damage. I'm not worried. I ain't worried about nothing. Oh, actually, that was pretty heavy. Again.
Ha! Slicing 2.
Boom, pow. That boom, boom, boom.
Witness my blast power.
Oh. I like his little animation that was around him. That was kind of cool. It's gonna cancel. Does it mean I'll lose the SP? Because I honestly forget. Justin, no! Justin,
Witness
no!
my
We're getting
blast
stun locked. Actually, that might have killed me. Unless it's a battle I'm supposed to lose.
Oh!
Probably not. I have a revival stone though. That helps. Do it. Oh.
Face slash.
Quite possibly one of the best lines in the movie is probably when Robert Downey Jr. was trying to infiltrate the dragons. Oh yeah, and he was like talking like Chinese or something. There's this guy's with the rice hat and the blanket, and they go, he's just a farmer. Then Robert Downey Jr. gives him, oh, I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker. Yeah. Where, I have that DVD somewhere. I should throw that on, actually. I haven't seen it in a while. But that is a movie that kind of sticks with you. Okay, like one more turn, and then I got this bitch. Survive! Oh, fucking don't you heal. And I really like his casting, like that animation glow. That's like traditional animation on top of sprites. Wait, are you blocking while casting? Yes!
Couldn't have done me in.
Yeah! We won, guys!
Hold on. Damn it. Tight. Oh shit. Fina, are you alright? Let me untie you. Like, no. Keep her tied up. I knew it. I knew you could come save me. Of course, I would do anything for you, Fina. Oh, Justin. But wait. What about the Spirit Stone? You must get it back. That's right. Once we get it back, let's get off this Hulk. Not so fast. In all honesty, after really thinking about it, I think Nick Nolte is the true villain of that movie. Nick Nolte in that movie? Oh yeah, he was like one of the producers or some shit, right? What was his role in that movie? Sergeant John Four-Leaf Tape. He never lied the one director would still, if he never lied, the one director would still be alive, and then also talking about they need to be thrown into the shit. Oh, it was his idea to do it when he never experienced any war, and oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And keep in mind, there were 2 books he had in the movie, the one that was made up and the one that got turned into a movie. Yeah, you're right. He's the guy that wrote it. That's funny. Yeah, I forgot about him actually. And he's such a good major character, all things considered. The only thing was the better. Yeah, he had no hands and the hook. Yeah, I remember. Don't be fooled, boy. You have yet to taste my real power. The power of Gaia. Oh shit. What the fuck? You are ugly, dude. I don't care how many times it takes. I'll put you in your place. Ah! I imagine Chappelle thought, ah! Justin! Oh shit. God damn it! I just rescued your ass. No, Justin. You grew hands? Ha ha ha! Now you know, no human power can ever defeat me, bitches. You ugly piece of shit. Now you really asked for it. Fool. Oh, fuck. Arrgh. Justin, no. Is she gonna jump and then is she gonna have her Ikarian wings sprout? Then the wings wanna sprout. Foolish Ikarian girl choosing to die, but it is of no consequence. I actually forgot about the whole her being Ikarian thing. Her and Lean. All praise to be Gaia. Hail Gaia! Ha ha ha! Nice. Man, how bogus does this mean my adventure is over? Dude, why are you saying bogus so much? Did like the writing or the writers change halfway through? Fina, why? Why did you? Aw. Why did you follow me, Fina? It's being sweet again. Now both of us will die. We'll all lose. Oh shit, what a body. How you doing? Finally, I won't let you go, just... You came at like the sweetest point in this game. Coincidence? I think not. Silly. If you were so afraid you faint, then why? Oh, you fainted, then why? Fina? Oh, bogus. Dude, stop saying bogus! He just randomly started saying it like in the past hour. You're okay, I hope you're well. I'm doing alright. I'm sleepy as usual, but I've been working on it. Oh shit. Maybe he went on a bogus journey? Yeah. Don't you know, Justin's catchphrase is bogus. He's been saying this since the beginning of the game. That's bogus. Well, what up, Body? What are you up to? Welcome back. Seems cute. Fina, is she alright? She's been sleeping for 3 days. Say, just, she'll be fine in a bit. Just being alive is wonderful, right? Got bills and rent. Yeah. Tired all the time. Oh, my cat's cool. You worry too much, you'll go bald. It's alright. I don't know, I worry all the time and I have a nice head of hair. The battleship was whiffed out and that fellow ball kicked the bucket. Nothing to worry about, right? Just... Fina, she's awake. Great, Just. You were so worried about Fina. You've been sleeping for 3 days? It must be your time. Oh. I think it's how it works. Say, at that time, I thought the sun had come out. Well, thanks to that light. we were able to find you guys. Thank you for helping us, Rappin' G-Word. Fina, you really are alright. Justin, I'm sorry. Because of me, the precious spirit stone. It's alright, Fina. You're much more precious than the spirit stone. It worked out well. When Ball and the spirit stone burned, the weird plans of the army collapsed. Still, I was an Ikarian. I mean, do you become an Ikarian, or are you already not an Ikarian, you know? These are the hard-hitting questions. How do you know that's not how it works when... What do you do on your period? That's my secret. Darumaka. What's Darumaka? Time to find out. Ikarian doesn't matter. Fina is Fina. I imagine the Incredibles meme, the math is math. It's like, Fina is Fina. I don't understand. What is it? Justin, let's go. Tuolent. I want to find out. I don't know why I keep thinking of Optimus. I want to know all about... Aw, shit. This is a good one. Sorry, Jay. But fuck you, Jay. My stream had a lot less slurs before you came here, mister. I want to know all about the Ikarians and Gaia. Gaia! If we go there, I'm sure we'll learn something. I, too, think it's a good idea. Me too. With Ball dead, my father's enemy is gone. I don't think he's dead. What the fuck? I haven't caught shit. Give me like 10 of them bitches. This is not over! But it was such an exciting way to die. G-word. Rap. If you bring them to the knowledge medal... If you bring them the knowledge medal, the wise men of Lane, they should teach you the way to Alent. I gotta go back to Lane? Oh, yeah. That's right, look at Lane. Everyone, great. The adventure continues. Let's go. There's like this cool like little clam shell things, right? Alright. Dang, 39 fucking hours. That's like 8 Resident Evils. Wait, can I just leave? Okay, good. I was a little worried. The 3 wise men should know the way to Alent. Okay, first let's go see what Darlin can tell us. Darlin was over here. Yes, in Milda's house. Milda! I miss you! Come back to the party. Please, you're like the win button. Or one playthrough of 100% completing Resident Evil 6. Is that how long it takes? Justin, what are you doing here? Y'all look like cats running from a flood. Darlin, listen, I need your help. And that's my story. I see. What y'all want to do about it? Liette told me if you want the answers to many questions, come to Alent. Now I understand. I didn't when I began the journey, but now her words. There is something I must know. Not just something, so many things. You know, whoever wrote this cooked. Fucking, as they were writing it out, the pencil just burst into flames because it was such fire. Angelo grew to encompass the world. Why would such a civilization die? The Ikarians, the Spirit Stone, and Gaia! We must go to Alent. No, all be clear in Alent. All the answers. Boy, seems like the time has come. The time for you, the chosen one! Truth is, we ain't just scientists. We's the gatekeepers to Alent. Justin couldn't let on. Oh, gatekeepers to Alent. Couldn't let on, though. Not till you was ready. Why are you talking like that? Detrevius Quintrell. Is that my black name? Joe Tavius is insane. Quantrell. That's awesome. I'm gonna write that down. Not till you was ready, which you is now, Justin, to Alent. You is kind, you is smart, and you is special? Important. That's what it is. Yes, I'll go find the answers. I'm so high as shit and ended up eating 2 Subway footlongs and watching Tetris videos. Jesus Christ, you must have been fucked up. What are you watching Tetris videos for? Are you a big Tetris guy? Guess what's in my Game Boy Color right now, big dog? Tetris. This is like my most played Game Boy game. Joe Marcus Tylenol. It's like the fucking, what do you call it? The, what's wrong with Tetris videos? I love Tetris, I'm just ass. No, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just random. Judgy Joey over here. No. Dude, I'm playing Tetris right now. Fuck Grandia. These names remind me of the college football draft in Key and Peele. One of their best bits. The colors and the fast movements get me lit. All right, hold on. I'll get back to you after this Tetris run. No, turn it off, Joey. Tingle McCringleberry? Squeeps! Key and Peele football player named Skit. Yeah, that's the one. I literally just said that. The college football draft. Good, it's Dorland. Who knows the way to Alent? Y'all be careful now, Justin boy. Donkey Teeth, that was one. Benedict Cumberbatch. Nefarious Jamar Javarson Lamar. I will, and thank you, darling. Alright, we out here. Wait, is that who I have to talk to now? Or I have to talk to the other wise men, I bet. Welcome back, Try. I just realized that was you. I missed you. Is it Dorlin? Okay. And then Dorlin is like isolated. Jack Marius. Tacrothrax. Tacrothrax. Triceratops Robitussin Jr. the Third. Oh, Cunnilingus Triceratops Robitussin Jr. the Third. That's a good skit. All like 4 of them. I like the fucking rap one that they did. Leaf of Deepak and Root of Uval. Hey, Scooby-Doo wow. Hey, Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo wow. Atsum, Adelberry, and Shake Shake Shake. He's pretty busy. Let's go to Dorland's place. Yeah, fuck this guy. Psycho. Joe Quantavius, Crinklesack III. And I get hit with a fucking ad? Oh, you can fucking subscribe? Scoish, Velociraptor, Maloyish. So good. It's funny, it's like, it's so out there. You could be making these up and I wouldn't even know. It's you. It's you! I remember you. Who are you with? Again? Not again. Haha, just kidding. What is it today? What have y'all come to ask? Oh, I forgot the quarterback was a white guy named Dan Smith. Yeah. And he was like the best rapper in that one. Look, we finally obtained the key to Alent. The key to another step closer to Liete? Good work, youngins. Young blood. Good work. Ah, Dorlin. I want to go to a Lent. There's something I must know. Do the carpets match the drapes? Dan Smith, BYU. Are you watching the skit right now? I forgot about Dan Smith also. He's like the one white guy. I see the time has finally come. Oh, darling, probably told you. We're also the gatekeepers for our Lent. Guess it's time to show you the way. First, throw the Medal of Knowledge into the beautiful spring behind the village. You'll see a rainbow. The rainbow on the spring will lead y'all to a Lent. Then you'll find what you're looking for. The Rainbow Mountain and Rainbow Spring. Get going to this place, a Lent. Thank you, Dorlin. We're headed for a Lent. I'll open the rainbow gate. Be sure to find the answer, and then Leate, with my hands, I shall. Jesus Christ, dude. What the heck are you gonna do with your hands, old man? Yeah. Perv! Hold on. I'm gonna read this in order, but I saw what you said. Oingy Boingy Jaquavius Jackson Jr. Texas A&M. Joey, out of all the hard R's in my life, you're my favorite hard R. That means a lot, buddy. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever told me. Am I one of the good ones? Remember the college football rap skit where both teams did Super Bowl Shuffle music video? I feel like you're ignoring me, your boy. Yeah, and then Dan Smith was like the best rapper at the end. Oh shit, cutscene. Yeah, I think that was the last of the college football skits that they did. Like it starts off all corny in like early 90s, and it turns into like an actual production. Ah, that felt good. What am I ignoring? No, nothing. Because you're referencing stuff after I talk about it. I had ads. Oh, that's right. You did contract the ads. My bad. I'll read what you said in a second, DJ. This cutscene's confusing me. Oh. Is it also gonna auto progress? And you, Mullen. Okay, like when we got the letter that we had to free y'all, I didn't let you go because you're my favorite. Hell yeah, dude. I'm gonna steal that. I like that one. Also, how much longer are you working, your boy? Till like what, 2 more hours, something like that? Hope it goes well. And you, Mullen. The time has finally come. The time for the Spirit Stone to be one again.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
I had ads for like 4 hours. Damn, dude. What'd you do? Who'd you piss off at Twitch? The time for the Spirit Stone to be one again. Father! How can you mean it? You don't revive this beast, I beg you. Joey, Sunday is my revival. I'm so excited. Oh, is that when you're streaming? Is that what you mean? It's a bit late, isn't it? Besides, the revival of Gaia was the final objective of Operation Yggdrasil. You know, I'm doing some shoutouts. I haven't done shoutouts yet. Hey, everybody. DJ Press has been in the hyperbolic time chamber training, okay, dude? And his resurgence is going to be Sunday. I can finally sit down and not be in pain. Hell yeah, dude. He had a sensu bean, and he's about to fucking fight in the world tournament. Everybody give DJ a fucking follow. If not, you're dead to me.
This to 35. Alright, as long as I get...
The bean kicked in? Oh, dude, I want one.
Greninja Zora GXs, I'll be fine.
You know, your voice kind of reminds me of like you're like a black Matt McMuscles. That's what you remind me of.
Somebody clip that. Somebody clip that and send that to me.
Was it a God Pack that you opened? And one of the newest members to our little troop is your boy. Brace your ears for impact because he's coming in hot. Give him a follow as well. I think you're. Have have you got the affiliate invite yet? Who is this? Who's that?
Y'all were sharing a toilet?
Who else is here? Oh! One of the fucking bosses, dude. You guys gotta give Bosel's a follow as well. He is legit. I was just speaking rare cards into existence. Nice. No, he's legit, like probably one of the most talented streamers I've ever seen. And he's also a really talented artist and DJ. He does all of his graphics, and on the low, he's working on a special project. That was Angerfoot? Oh, nice. Hell yeah, dude. You were mentioning that. So make sure y'all give Bo Souls a follow as well. He's been busy, but when you do catch a stream, it's always a good time.
Dude, that's fucking creepy.
Is that Neo Dark Souls? Is that? This is Dark Souls, I think. Nah, that's Dark Souls. Oh shit.
Alright, so as long as it's not looking at you, you're not getting... Oh, man. Shit.
Joey, Bo has been busy, Bo. What the fuck? He's been busy, but I'm helping him out. I know I've got affiliate yet. I still need 2 more times of 4 or more people in the stream on separate days for a certain amount of time. Oh, okay. You're missing the average followers or average viewers. Everybody, what the fuck? Just load your boy up. Just load him up. He's also pretty consistent. I think you stream most weekday mornings. I got you, bro. Next time you live. Yeah, he streams in the mornings. Usually when I'm at work. I try to catch it when I can. Unless Saturday at 6, because then I'm long gone by that point. Oh yeah, and we got one of my also favorite streamers, even though he doesn't stream much, is the brother of Jay. Also working on a fantastic video game. If he's here, feel free to link it. Let me see if I can load up Steam real quick. He's working on a tactical sci-fi game called Darklight Breach. Wishlist it now, boys. It's gonna be good. Spoilers, I got to play it. Found it. Where is a link? Can I share a link on Steam? How, Sway? How, Sway? Mostly mornings, but now I got a set schedule, so I can now plan night streams. Okay, that's good. That's good. How do I fucking... More info? Embedded? No. I make a widget. Here, I'll just write the name. Darklight Breach. Wish list this on Steam, yo. You don't got the answer, Sway. You ain't got the answer, Sway. Thank you for knowing my reference. Who else we got? You know what? He's not here, but I should just throw bitch ass Jay a shout out to. Honestly, he's the most consistent streamer I know. He streams weekdays like at 1, 12, depending on where you're at. Right now he's playing all the Final Fantasies. He'll probably take a break after 3 and hop over something else, but he's going through SMT, he plays Kingdom Hearts, he played Quake.
For continuing to talk
he
about
plays games like I watch movies. Like I can't just watch one movie in a series. I have to watch all of it. That's how he streams. So giving him a follow. He's all right. Nah, he's a good dude. And then lastly, here's Feels Dry. Go ahead and give him a follow too, because he streams every like 100 follows, and it's worth it. It's like a holiday when he streams. And I need you all to do your part. Oh, he has another clip. Holy shit. You know what? I'm not done yet. Aw, thanks, baby. No problem.
Yeah, no, it actually.
Yeah, I got 2 more. Just now? That'd be kind of funny. Also, I say this a lot, but I mean it. This is legit one of my best friends. Go ahead and give Lemon Wedges a follow. I've known him for, I think, over 10 years now. I used to live with this dickhead. Hilarious guy, and he's live right now. So I don't know what you guys are up to, but if you maybe want to check out his stream too, I know he'd appreciate it. He's playing Marathon. Ew. It might appeal to you guys. I have no interest in that game. But yeah, if you guys want to watch him play that, then head on over to Lemon Wedges right now. Jay's never been to New York, New Jersey, or New Hampshire because he has to go to the first ones before he goes to those. Oh, that's funny. That's a good one. And then another one of my best friends. I was gonna hang out with him tomorrow, but turns out is my affiliate, my second stream anniversary. So I'm actually gonna do a 12-hour stream tomorrow. So sorry, Bloody, but this is another one of the best people I know. Plays a lot of shooters. So you're saying stop watching your stream and go over to Lemons? Oh, you don't have to necessarily stop. If it's in your interest, you know, go ahead and check him out. If not, it's all good. You can hang out here. I won't judge either way. He's a good dude. He's entertaining, and I don't know. I'm trying to be nice.
No, you killed Works? Yeah.
And then who else we got?
My kills right there. Fucking. I dropped fucking 4 of them.
And here's another one of my best friends. Honestly, these last people they probably be my top 4 on MySpace.
Yeah, they just dropped 12 deuce right there. Fucking.
Oh, nice. Long clip.
Damn, I was 12 and 2. God.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
All right, and here's the man, the myth, the legend, the Dead Wolf. I highly encourage you guys to check out his streams as well. He also streams later afternoons.
So peaceful now that the storm is past.
It was top 8 on MySpace, which is still around, by the way. No, I know. I meant top 4. Yeah, like top, like the top of the top 8. I remember too, you learning HTML.
You though, man.
Because like it felt weird putting my friends and family in a hierarchy, so I coded it to have like a top 32, something like that. I was like, now we're good. Sorry, buddy. You're an honorable mention. You're not worthy of being in my top 8. Felt weird. And then, oh wait, I meant to not give him another shout out. God damn it, Lemon. God damn it, Lemon. Don't check out his stream anymore. I changed my mind. Oh yeah, I took that clip too. That's funny. I think he's playing Insurgency or some shit. Ah, fuck, I like pop my back or something. And then you're already here, but I like my clips. Get your ass up here. Oh yeah.
Get your ass over there, boy.
I was playing this with Lemon.
What'd you see, boy? What's up there, boy?
What's this cultural artifact, master?
There's some big words for you, boy.
I love that dude. Wait, did it double play? Oh, the other one.
What you see up there?
Okay, let me get back to this. Isn't it a bit... Oh, it's a bit late, isn't it? You have to say like an anime villain. Besides, the revival of Gaia was the final... Oh yeah, I already read this. Operation Yggdrasil. Look upon him, Mullen. Gaia is bursting with joy. Don't get too excited, Gaia. I can hear his voice. How long he... Wait, Gaia's a dude? How he longs to gorge on the energy of the Spirit Stone. Gorge on these nuts! Just run into battle. Father! Oh, it's your dad? Oh yeah, no, it is his dad. Don't you understand? Gaia cannot be tamed by human hands, dude. You are repeating the tragic mistakes of the past. Can you not recall the soldiers and humanoids cursed by Gaia and turned to stone? Worms. Mere feed for Gaia. Worms, how dare you? Father, that is what you truly think? That all your talk of sacrifice and building an ideal world was for lies? No, you gotta read it like a English Cockney accent, a bit weird, ain't it? No, dude, Cockneys sound like, ugh. It's just all like gut. It's diaphragm, vowels, and phlegm. Then all your tanks talk of sacrifice because they felt the black lung or something. And building an ideal world. That's what they sound like to me. It's disgusting. I don't care if you're British, just don't do it around me, okay? There is no ideal world without Gaia. Who the, oh. He who does the will of Gaia shall be indefinitely blessed, as I will be. Ahaha! What a bottle? A bottle of water? Yeah. I'm sure they're nice people. Just, I don't know. Don't say it with your stomach. Just, hello. Anyway, out of my way, Mullen. I shall now offer the last piece of the Spirit Stone. I thought I was gonna kill him. Hey, your boy, did you finish RE9 yet? All hands on the aerial battleship Grandia escaped when she went down, except for General Ball. Ports of the battleship, Lion Lot. Yeah. So I looked at it, doubting it. I was like, Lion Lot? Leon Lot? I did that earlier, but it just looks weird. It's a weird word. Assigned to rescue the survivors painted a very grim picture. And yet, how could General Ball survive without a scratch? I'm frightened. When I see General Ball, I cannot stop shaking. That's the sex appeal. That's what that is, lady. So, as I suspected, he must not get a hold of the Spirit Stone. Alright, off to Rainbow Road. Oh, Rainbow Mountain. He said it was behind the village, didn't he? All you gotta do is walk around the lake and you're gonna find it. Walk around the lake and I'm gonna find it? Okay. Walking around the lake. No, I haven't got back to it yet. I'm at the part I told you last. I forgot what that part was. Oh, wait, no. Because somebody else was telling me about it. Where are you? Mountain base. I forgot where you were. Sorry, bud. But I'm glad you're liking it. I thought it was a wonderful game. Oh, I should probably check my equipment and shit when I'm at the... Yeah. You sound like how pugs breathe. Chris is all bummed about Emily, and I said I don't want this gun anymore, and I'm playing a saying, okay, yeah. I know exactly where you are. Good game, man. Good game.
All right, we won!
Oh shit. Yeah, I'm gonna go back though. Let me go to the store, the stout, while I can. Whose house? Whose house? Mildo's house. What? Blacksmith? I think that's who I want to talk to. Was there like a shopkeeper? Nope. Get the fuck out of here. Wait, is that girl tied up? Hold on. What the fuck is going on in here? What the fuck is going on? Husband's breath. It's real heavy when he's thinking deep thoughts. We used to keep the forge hot. He's about the only man in lane worth his keep as far as I can see. I do have an eye for men. Sugar pie, honey bunch. I just love it when you think real hard. Alright, I'll leave you two freaks to whatever's going on in here. Barn. house. Oh yeah. Fuck. Where? I think it's over here. Is it? Yeah. It's like the elder house. Up in. Okay, it's gotta be over here then. Yep. I don't think I have much longer to go. How many sessions have you had? Because I'd say you're approaching. You have a ways to go, but it's not like you're definitely over the halfway point. I would say. Honestly, you're probably at the halfway point. You are welcome here. Oh yeah, I don't care. Shut up. Shut up. Let me buy some shit. Oh yeah, I have a fucking everybody knows everything. Alright, just hold on to the what do you fucking call it? The man egg. This 15 move is pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't like losing my move either. Because, I mean, yeah, I can attack more, but I probably played 8 hours so far, more or less. My first playthrough took me 14. I took my time. I was exploring and reading and sneaking because I was scared. I think you're at a good spot. You're making progress for sure. Oh, I guess I kind of have everything I need and want right now. Oh shit, I can buy some nuts. Plus 2 attack level for 1 friend. Oh dude, I can fucking just spam this shit. Action. Defense for the entire party. It's not. God damn it. I thought it was like a permanent thing. I didn't realize this was. Oh, I just wasted all that money. Alright, I'll throw these in my stash. God damn it. I didn't save. That's fine. That's fine. Stupid. It's like nut over here. Run nut. Rest nut. D's nuts. Exactly. You get it. Stupid. Because usually the nuts, they like let you have permanent stat increases. I thought that's what those were. I didn't realize that those are in battle items. It's fine. That's fine. Don't fucking worry about it. It's okay. I just want to save. Well, I want to... Oh, fuck. No, I didn't mean to... Click to click. Okay, I thought they were going to do the whole fucking dinner scene. Dude, oh my god. Stop pressing the button, Joey. I'm one of those guys. I just smash the A button to get through conversation. And then... Look what this gets me. And a good meal. Well, let me just save, because I think the rest will restore everything that I have. And then the meal is just a lot of conversation and shit. Right? Let me see. Yeah, we Gucci. Alright, let's skedaddle. Damn, motherfucker! dang, these tough boys. Nice, nice.
Not bad, eh?
I'm gonna be making a couple new skits, and I've been growing my hair. Yeah, this is the mullet thing. Yeah, you mentioned that. Looking out, cut into a mullet for the skits. Oh, so it's long enough to actually be able to do it now. Nice. Damn, dude, your hair must grow fast, dude. When you cutting it? This weekend? Down the fucking thing. Okay. Please don't ambush me. That might have been an ambush. Damn it! Yeah, it's almost down to my collar. Nice. My hair is longer than it looks because it's curly and it's dense. But if I stretch it out, it's actually pretty. Yeah, it's like down to like my nipples. Stun missed? Oh fuck, die! Please! Shit. No, like
There's
next
no
month?
use in
Okay,
hiding.
cool. I can't wait for you to get that mullet. I want to see it on stream. Why don't you like the flat top?
We won!
Why don't you do the flat top like the one kid on Recess? My hair is actually not like that. It's more like wavy. It's hard to explain. I don't think I have the hair for a flat. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. Because there's literally a baby picture of me with a flat top as a kid. Let me see if I can find it. Oh shit! I just threw my phone across my keyboard. I don't know. I don't think I could pull that look off. I was a cute kid, so that looked fine. But let me see if I could pull it up real quick. Where is it? It's in my favorites. I'll find it. It's somewhere. Okay, you can kind of see it here. God damn, I was a cute kid. I'm gonna have to turn off the background real quick though. Here, webcam, filters, and then get background removal. Here, you can probably not tell. Look at that! Look at that! Look at me! There it is. I had a little flat top. Look at that! What happened? I was so cute. I put the shit back on. I'm sure you can go to Walmart and go to the aisle with the hair stuff that has the continent of Africa on it. That can help make a flat top. That's funny. Got add to me and said I found the picture. Oh, it's too late. Too late. Sorry. Just kidding. Let me know when you're back. And you're an ad, so you didn't hear that, but I said it. Let's do more magic.
Blaze brightly, O flame!
How dare you! Back. Here. One more time. One more time for the class. Let me open this up. And then Off the background removal. That's me with a flat top as like a 4-year-old. I was like 4 or 5 here. Super cute, right? I don't know what happened. I grew up and got ugly. Ah, look at me. Same height. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, let's get back to it. The mullet is gonna be glorious. I'm gonna really go in on it when I'm cutting it. You should stream it when you cut it. Or record it and upload it to your YouTube or something. Is that the plan?
Not bad, eh?
Or add to your stories or something? Yeah, the hair stuff I'm talking about could possibly make a flat top like that big. I know of black hair products. What I'm saying though is, it's hard to, I have a type whatever hair. It's not nappy, you know. It's just an unkempt mess right now. But I know what you mean. But I think most importantly, I don't want a flat top.
Here goes!
I was thinking about recording or streaming it if I do it fast, so it would be a short stream. Well, because I know you're trying to like do content, you know, for like your channel, like on YouTube. I imagine you could go a quick little behind the scenes thing or something. Just an idea. Stop touching me! Everyone just gets haircuts from the 90s, bring it back. Yeah, 90s nostalgia's here. Yeah, I can see it. I don't want a flat top though. I don't think I could pull it off. I like the curly mess.
We won! We won!
My third act, Chucky. Is this an ambush? Yeah, cool. I mean, while I'm recording that skit, I could just have the camera keep rolling while I'm getting the haircut, then edit that part into its own video. Oh, are you gonna get your haircut in the skit? I assume you're gonna do it prior.
There's no use in hiding.
Voice acting. Oh shit. Oh shit. Is this a magic only? This might be magic only.
Here goes!
Peanut, your only hope. Oh, okay. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Focus fire! Oh shit. Oh yeah, Fina, use your magic. No, in the beginning of the skit, I'm gonna have my normal hair, and then when I talk about cutting my hair myself to save money, it's gonna cut me to immediately having hair afterwards. Oh, okay. How'd you come up with this, and why?
Blaze brightly, oh flame!
Have you had a mullet before?
Not bad, eh?
Ah, fuck. Oh shit. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, there's an item over here too. Sorry. I had a mullet in high school back in 2010. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting I'm older than you. Oh wait, what was over here? Oh yeah, it was the defense nut, or defense seed. That's what it was. Ah! Yeah, in high school, I was basically bald. I had like one guard. That was basically, it was this buzz cut. Because I was all in on ROTC and shit. And I was like, fix the look. And I did it once and everybody was just like, yes! And I was like, cool. And it stuck. And then that was like the style forever, and people were like, you should grow it out. And then I finally did, and they were like, yes! And I was like, alright. Usually how it goes. But I don't think that trend will continue with a flat top. If anything, I would like to grow my hair longer. But if not, I don't mind cutting it again. One day. I'll like just freak out and then go fucking full, I'll go full Britney Spears and just like, just shave it all off in some manic episode.
Blaze brightly, O flame!
100 million degrees. Take that.
I tried doing dreads one time, but my white guy hair wouldn't let it happen. Yeah, I can see that.
Come back with me and
honestly, dude, you with dreads, kind of a vibe. That's funny. A mullet sounds right though. Fuck, I just got ambushed, I think. It's hard to tell. Yeah. When the music yells at me like that. I have a pick of me with dreads. Oh, dude, you have to share that. Deadwolf fucking went home. I don't tell him, I'm gonna dox him, but he came back once. This is back when we were roommates, and he had fucking dreads. I was like, what the fuck? No, he had cornrows. It was cornrows. I can see you with cornrows. White boys get cornrows. Just attack. Don't have any worthwhile magic, Guido.
100 million degrees.
Oh, they separated. I also had cornrows and I pick of that. Nice.
Burnout! Blaze brightly, O
Really?
flame!
Oh, nice. It was simultaneous. I was like, where's the fucking damage? 2 hits. Boom.
Not bad, eh?
Right on, brother. Right on, brother. I guess this way, and then yeah, and then back over here, but I knew it. Uh-oh. Try to avoid those fights. Go this way. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I got disoriented. I'm backtracking. It's this way. Sorry, guys. I got lost, kinda. Fuck, this game is annoying me right now. I want to get up there. How do I get up there? Am I missing something? Did I forget something? Fuck. How do I get on that? It's this one. Okay. Wait. I just fell for it again. Dude, this map is rotating and sorry, it all looks the same. I just see just a network of ropes. But I think I have to go this way instead. Can I climb this? No. How do I get over there is the real question. Oh. Silly. Oh! Figured it out. What the fuck is going on here? I sent the PX to your DM. Get ready to laugh when you see them. All right, I'll actually. This is worth. Nice. Oh, dude, the cornrows actually look kind of cool, dude. Because you did like the mix where it's like cornrows up here and then you have like just short hair right here. That was good. How long ago was this? You said this was high school? Please tell me that's not an ambush. That's not fair. Okay. I can live with that. Neither they are AI. They are AI. They were in 20. Wait, what? Can you rephrase that? No, I had the mullet in high school. Oh, that's right. That's right. Neither they are AI. They were in 2019. Oh, are you doing text or speech to text? I think you're like maybe stuttered or something. But I hear you. I hear you. Like I kind of keep forgetting about the speech to text and how it kind of fucks you over.
Blaze brightly, O flame! Pretty easy.
Neither of the pictures are AI. They were taken in 2019. Okay. Because it said, like, the previous message, it was neither are AI. They were in 2019. I didn't say they were AI. I thought they were, like, high school or something. But I got you. I got you. Max HP, defense seed. I just kind of want Justin to be like a powerhouse. Oh shit, is this where I gotta go? Aw, yeah. Oh shit, get on the... Silk. Don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. Dang. Part of me wants to like stop it here, but I should probably keep playing. At least get to a length. And it's Friday. How long has it been? Probably get through this in like the next 20. It's like trying to play this like a stealth game now. Nice. Ah! No. No, 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 no! Fuck. Bring it on! these are the magic onlys. Okay, that's max. I should really start working on other spells like this one, I guess.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado.
$100,000,000 degrees. Take that.
You ain't got shit. Just fight. I can't believe how little magic Justin has.
Blow, storm, blow!
It just takes so long.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado. Not bad, eh?
I bitch. I just used it in one battle and I level up already. Message. Oh. Alright. Because what I would love to do... What the fuck? Oh, I didn't realize there's an enemy in there. Is, play, Grandia 2 tomorrow. But there's still so fucking much of this game left!
Aha! There! Ta-da!
Oh,
Should
wind,
reach them
twist
all.
like a tornado.
Yeah, I think wind cancels too. I don't know, the whole cancel stuff got better in the sequel. Everything is better in the sequel. Let's get the
Blow
sweetness.
your way. Take that.
Here goes!
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado.
Hell yeah. If you love the sequel so much, why don't you marry it? Dude, if Grandia 2 was a person, I would have already been proposed. We have 3 kids, probably divorce, like alimony or something. But we would have been in love at least at one point.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado. Not bad, eh?
Oh, wait. When did we heal? Am I tripping? Did I not take any damage? Oh, cool. Don't! No! I can throw my controller. Dude, people thought they were controllers. Cut it out. Grow up. Grow up, bro. What are you, 6? Control your emotions.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado.
Sandile? It sounds like it could be cute. I'm just trying to level up my wind. But it's at a fucking snail's pace because this game hates progress. Do it, rap.
There's no use in hiding.
The magic's so low. I really shot myself in the foot earlier.
Oh,
Penguin tried to warn me.
Like a tornado.
But it's all good. I'll be fine. I remember getting through this game before on my Vita, and I played the same way. I kind of didn't. See, I learned something. I didn't really prioritize magic like I should have then. I got through it just fine. And as a reminder, I'm just really beelining it to Grandia 2. 20 hours later.
Blow, storm, blow!
You kill anybody? Probably not. Yeah. Thought so.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado.
Do it, wind. And Guido. Sorry, G-word.
Not bad, eh?
It's like in that movie, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, you gotta work your way through the hood rats before you ask the girl you actually want to go out with. Dude, you're putting the pussy on the pedestal, man. Ah, dude, I haven't seen that movie in years. Oh, damn. I'm gonna answer to you. You're not my bitch. Alright? So cut it with the Inquisition. Oh. Bye! You know how I know you're gay? You like Coldplay. Another one I liked was like, you know how I like you're gay? He's like, why? Because you're gay and you can tell who other gay people are? That's just good writing. Oh no, wrong one. Fuck. Click to click. Oh wait.
100 million degrees. Take that.
Ah. Burn flare. Fuck yeah, bro.
Twist like a tornado.
Yeah, you're gay because you got a bumper sticker that says cowboy butts drive me nuts. Was that in the movie? I actually don't remember that line. Oh, didn't they extend it? Isn't there like a director's cut with like more of those, or there's something like that? Joey, you idiot! Attack the magic
See my power!
one. Is he in range? Okay, he is. Got him! Alright, then just punch him. Uh-oh. What are you doing? What are you doing? Egg smash? You're doing some shit. I was in the movie. Paul Rudd said that when. So, what? That makes me gay? Oh, B90. This guy. Thank you for the raid, boy. I didn't know you were alive. I was lurking earlier, and I had to restart my computer, so sorry. But thank you for the raid, man. How was your stream? This guy. That guy. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is Shattered Limit. I'm a variety streamer. I played all the Resident Evils except the new one. Well, on stream at least. I played the shit out of Requiem already. But now I'm playing Grandia. Welcome in. I hope you're all doing well. Mwah. It's a collective kiss for each of you. Oh, I didn't press enter. Is your shout out, my boy? Who's that? Is that Who's that?
Somebody clip that. Somebody fucking clip that.
Tarkov. Okay. I keep forgetting about that. That game even exists. Right on, dude. Yeah, thank you so much. How was your raid? How was your stream? Not your raid.
We won! We won!
Turn this game down a little bit. Happy Friday, dude. Yeah, stream was alright. We're just getting some Arc Raiders done. I still gotta pick that up. Damn it, Justin. Get level 2 magic, bitch. It's my fault, though. Or actually, wait, no. I'm playing as Justin right now. I'm not those motherfuckers. So let's do... Oh, I'm out. Wait, what? I have the SP. Why won't it let me? Oh, I'm magic blocked. Oh, that's not good. Panacea. I was about to quit, and then a buddy joined me for a couple hours, so I kept going. It'd be like that sometimes. Like, you know, you're about to raid out, and then you get raided. You're like, oh,
There's
guess
no use in hiding.
Guess I'm playing. It's always nice, though. Ads, dang.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. So, I forgot until like Tuesday that my stream anniversary, my second one, is actually tomorrow. So, funny enough, my schedule's cleared, so I'm gonna do a 12-hour stream tomorrow. Probably gonna be playing this, trying to finish it. There's something I was planning. I still am. It's just, damn it, dude. I wish I remembered this sooner because I would love to use tomorrow as the opportunity. But whatever I planned, it's actually going to be for my affiliate anniversary in May. Trying to do some cool shit, but then After Effects started crashing on me, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm having like some weird like CUDA issue or something, because like, at least that's what the log says, but every time I'm editing text, it starts being weird, and it might, like, there's like a good chance it just crashes. I'm like, don't do that, please. Ooh, yeah, crashes suck.
Not bad, eh?
Oh, where am I? Okay. I think it's like a stealth game. Fuck off! Fuck. I should have just ran for him. Beat him up for me! Max Flame.
This'll teach you.
I did it because it was Max, and Max spells are instant. Shit. No, Shockwave doesn't really do it with these guys. It might. Let me see.
Here goes!
There will watch Friday.
Blow your way. Take
Pick another
that.
movie to put on. I just saw the new Naked Gun. I could probably put that on. That was a good time. Okay, come on, dude. Fucking VCRs, man. Oh, is that it? Alright. Burn him! Burn him! You're fired! The new Naked Gun movie was great. Dude, I fucking loved it. That is one of the best comedies I've seen in a long fucking time, dude. Like I said a few times today, like I have not laughed that hard at a movie in a long time. It was so fun.
Here goes! Ha!
I lent you my TiVo so you could watch the first season of Buffy, so you can understand my references. Shut the fuck up. It was so good.
You'll never get away! Ha!
Ooh, canceled. Cancel! He's only got 1 HP. Yeah, just beat him up. We'll do one. There we go. I was like, at some point, they'll do damage. The Duchess, yeah. Or the fucking... No, I don't want to give any spoilers to people that might be listening that haven't seen it, but the montage, that was hilarious. Fuck, man, I want to own... God damn it! It's got ambushed again. I want to own that fucking movie. Like, that's the best one. I kind of want to rewatch the originals again, but as of right now, that's the best one.
You'll never get away! Ha!
Oh shit, got a new ability.
Here goes.
The chili dog car scene was funny as fuck. Yeah. He's just shooting. I was like, dude, this is. Dude, yeah, I gotta buy that movie. And like every joke landed. It was so impressive. Fuck, I forgot what movie I was gonna try and do. That's how fucking distracted I am thinking about Naked Gun. Let's do some V-Slash.
V-Slash!
Oh, she's out of SP? Why did you have a chili dog, Frank?
Like a tornado.
Everyone's like, no, don't stop! I wish I saw it in theaters, but it's okay. The only wrong way to watch this movie is just not at all. It was so good. I wish Cop Business needs. I need to commandeer that bathroom stall. Yeah, we should do like a. Let's see if I'm free on Sunday. I wouldn't mind doing it like another movie night. I think I'm free. That's what I'm saying. I think I'm forgetting something. So tentatively, I might do a movie night on Sunday.
Oh, wind, twist like a tornado.
Our dinner date. Sorry, babe. Fuck. You're right. After the kids go to bed. I can't believe you forgot me so easily. Baby, I've just been busy. I'm sorry. It's over. No, wait! My heart can't take much more of this. I could change. I could change B90.
Blow you away.
Street Fighter movie or New Mortal Kombat, which do you think is going to be better that's coming up? That's kind of a good question, man. So the thing is, yeah, I like MK a lot just as IP, but there's something about the tone of that trailer for Street Fighter that's just new. You know, we don't get that often. Usually they try to do the whole grounded, gritty, realistic thing. They're like, no, let's just put the game on screen. I mean, just as dumb as Street Fighter is inherently, you know? And I gotta give it to them. They're going for it. So I think Mortal Kombat will probably be better, but Street Fighter might be more fun. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna watch them both. But I like MK significantly more than Street Fighter. I think the call Urban was not the call for Johnny Cage though. So I didn't at first just because I thought he was too old. But seeing as how they're portraying him as like a washed up 90s actor, I think it works. I think he's got the comedic timing, funny enough, because he can be fucking hilarious. The physicality for it, and the look. He's just older. I think that's the big thing.
Blow, Storm, blow!
Up at the beginning movie in Mortal Kombat, they're gonna kill him in the beginning. Carl Irving seems like he's gonna do a good job as Johnny Cage though. Carl Urban. Yeah, I think Carl Urban's gonna be fine. And then yeah, Cole is not gonna last in the movie. I'm calling it. Like, it's kind of obvious even in the trailer. He's like in one scene. Like, what I think is probably gonna happen is they're gonna have a scene with Johnny, and they're gonna do the thing where he's like, "No, you guys are crazy," and then they're gonna like, "Get down!" And then like Baraka or something is gonna try and kill Johnny. And then Cole, they're gonna do a cool fight, and I'm pretty sure Cole's gonna like, "I'll buy you time," and then Shao Kahn's gonna come and kill him or something. You know, he's gonna die saving Johnny, and it's almost gonna be like a passing of the torch. They really should have tried to get Jean-Claude Van Damme. No, fuck that. I don't want Jean-Claude Van Damme anywhere near Mortal Kombat. This is supposed to see him in the game. Yeah, I don't. No. Like, it would have been cool in the 90s, but even now, I don't think he's got Johnny. He's got Bloodsport, you know, because it was supposed to be like a Bloodsport game, I think, and they lost the license, and then it became MK. So it's not that I think he can't do a job; it doesn't look like Johnny. No, I didn't at first, but like I'm saying, I think he grew on me. I can see it. Who I can't see is Van Damme.
We won! We won!
And he can't act. He fucker cannot act. If you need somebody to kick, he's your guy. But you gotta act, I think. We're going to march over there, and we are going to kick a bison's ace. No. ABC shouldn't be anywhere near movies. No, even though I did see an episode of, was it Jean-Claude Van Johnson or something, where he played like a fictional version of himself. That was actually pretty hype. I need to finish that, but no, not Johnny. I don't see him as Johnny. Fuck. God damn it, I wasted that. Or at least Jean-Claude Van Damme should do a cameo in some sort. It would be a really cool Easter egg. Yeah, it would be a cool Easter egg. Like, cameo would be fine. Or hell, man, make him play Baraka or something, you know? I don't see him as Johnny at all. We could probably find a role. Outrolled fighter number 2. I'm just being mean. Maybe in his 20s? Yeah, maybe in the 20s. But honestly, the guy that they got in the 90s to play Johnny, mwah, he was perfect. And we're gonna watch the movie coming out about Jason Statham making fun of his career called Jason Statham Stole My Bike. What? What the fuck? I love Jason Statham. I never heard of this. It appears you're referring to the newly announced action comedy movie titled Jason Statham Stole My Bike, which was unveiled last month. This is set to play a fictionalized meta version of himself in this action comedy, which is being produced by David Leitch, Hobbs & Shaw, Bullet Train, 80 mil tongue-in-cheek meta comedy. Yeah, I'll watch it. I fucking love Jason Statham. Fucking Crank. Everybody likes Crank, dude. I love Crank 1 and 2. They're both masterpieces, but I always lean Transporter as my personal favorite. You know? Something about that one. Now let me change VHSs real quick. Let me take Friday out. Put something else in. 1 second. Whee! Alright, I'll put on Hot Shots. A good Easter egg would be Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Johnny Cage in a fake movie Ninja Mime. And Carl Urban says he doesn't even look like me. Yeah, like he got fired or something, and then Jean-Claude took over. Like they recast him. That'd be kind of funny. Well, Justin, you finally made it. Right. Now we can get it out there. It's not a dream. Thank God. He's leaving, isn't he? Time to make the bridge to Lent. Throw the metal to the spring. That's what I was gonna do. I like Hot Shots Part Deuce. Yeah, same. I have both. Here goes. Boop, 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 boop. That was a good sound. Aw, shit. Looks like my job is done, eh? Now it's your turn, Justin. You make the way. Huh? What do you mean, G-word? Aren't you gonna go with us? No. Justin, remember what I told you when we first met? I said to you, everybody got a place in the world, a role to play. That's mean. That's so mean, everybody. Stop talking like this! I already have enough hard time reading. I got my role. Only I can do it, eh? Same to you, compadre. The gate's locked. We can't enter through. It's not our property. You know another good movie is Top Secret with Val Kilmer. That one's kind of underrated. Gotta be honest, that Jason Statham movie I just found says it's a concept trailer and it looks fucking stupid. I thought it was like announced. Jason Statham. Let me look up his filmography. Oh, it's real. It's in pre-production. Wait, he's in Red Faction too? I didn't know that. And Call of Duty? I didn't know he did video games. You? No worry, eh? You figure it out when you get to a Lent. You find your real role. My real role? My real role? Like fucking Snake. Or when they were putting on the face paint and then the one dude tried handing face paint to the black guy, yeah. I love Jason Statham movies, but I will most likely wait for that one to be free. Well, I need to see more on it, but I like Jason Statham. I'll check it out for sure at some point. I'm say goodbye now. Justin Fina, Rapino, say hello to Leah Tate for me, eh? If I watch it at all, that's fair. You bet, G-word. See you again soon. Bye-bye! Oh, sure. Oh, shit. Cutscene! Oh, shit.
Wow, this is high!
Woo-hoo-hoo!
The voice acting.
We keep zooming through the clouds.
We're not gonna be dropping down from here, right?
Look, Justin.
That must be a lint. All the answers will be there.
It just comes off as one of those movies that's trying to be funny, but will just be beyond retarded and too try-hardy. Well, it sounds like what I saw, it's in pre-production, so yeah, I guess the concept trailer you saw, is it like official? Because I'm sure we'll get like actual footage and stuff at some point. I'm sure it'll be fine. The budget was 80 million. Like an action comedy, that's kind of... It should be fine. It looks official. I'll check it out. So this is a lint. I finally made it. Pina, rap. How about this? We're really here. You did it, Justin. All right, Just. Okay, let's get going. Leontine must be waiting. Let's go to the safe spot. Oh shit, a mana egg. Mind if I do? Is there a safe spot? Also, oh, I'm gonna have a new party member, and then they're gonna have the fucking, yeah. I wanna save. Let me out! Let me the fuck out! Oh, nice. Cover. And then save. And then, you know what this means. It was only 10 days old. Damn, dude. Saved. That's funny. I'm making sure, because I've been known to not save and have to redo parts. But, oh my god, you sound so cute. Hi. Sorry, my cat's trying to get my attention. It is that time, everybody. But as I mentioned, I will be streaming, I'm thinking noon to midnight tomorrow. I'm absolutely going to finish this shit, and then hopefully I'm going to get to 2 tomorrow. That's all I want. I just want to play Grandia 2. Man, I hope I'm almost done with Primal. I'm pretty done with it, lol. Primal? The PS2 game? Oh, Far Cry Primal. Oh shit, big boy stream. Yeah, because tomorrow is my 2-year stream anniversary. I know a lot of people do affiliate anniversaries. I don't know, my official stream anniversary felt more appropriate, but I do have something planned for my affiliate in May. This one, like I said, I legit forgot. I was like, oh fuck, that's Saturday. And I just didn't have anything ready that I want to do, but it's fine. Far Cry, yeah. I hope you're almost done. Far Cry is gonna be kind of long. If you like try to do everything and hunt everything and craft everything and get all the bases and, you know. But that's fun. That's Far Cry. That's Far Cry, baby. The thing that's funny is like people bitch, understandably, about the Ubisoft formula. Dog, I love Ubisoft formula. Give me all the towers. You know? Give me all the enemy bases and shit. Give me the stealth and the throwing knives. I love that. Ubisoft is almost a genre in itself. But I think I'm gonna raid out. Let's see who's live. I'm probably gonna raid Lemon unless, let's see. Lemon, my friend. Yeah, let's raid this motherfucker. Motherfucker. I like Far Cry games, but Primal's getting a little too slow for me. Yeah, honestly, not having a gun, that's a thing, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the game makes up for it. Like I said, I didn't get very far. I liked what I played, but I just dropped off because like that's what I do. But it's still on my list. All right, everybody, I understand, you know. I'm gonna say, fuck. Let's go for the first several hours. Yeah, I bet. But yeah, we're gonna raid Lemon. He's playing Marathon right now. Mix it up, something a bit more action-paced. I hope you guys enjoy this. Just tell him I say hi. When you see him, just spit in his face. That's what I do. That's why I say hi to him. Right before I punch him. Don't get me wrong, it's a good game and I enjoy it. No, I believe you. It looks fun. But you know, sometimes games, they overstay their welcome. It's totally understandable. All right, well, I'm about to piss myself, and I should be getting ready for bed, so I'm not like dead by the time I do stream tomorrow. Peace out, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate each and every fucking one of you. And have a good night. Get some rest. Go do the thing. Go say hi to that person. You know, call your moms. You know, do good. Go for a walk. Eat something healthy. Drink water. And have a good night.